And British military officers, this is just breaking on BBC, will be sent to Libya to advise rebels fighting Colonel Muammar Gaddafi's forces. The Foreign Secretary of Britain, William Hague, says the contingent would advise rebels on military organization rather than how to run the combat campaign. He said the group will be deployed to the opposition stronghold at Benghazi. Phyllis Bennis.
You know, this is exactly the kind of escalation that many of us warned against on the evening that the UN first passed its no-fly zone resolution that had the language, all necessary measures, that it would lead to boots on the ground. There have already been boots on the ground in the form of intelligence agencies, the CIA and others, who are already operating on the ground. Now we'll see it on a larger scale. What we're seeing is a clear commitment on the part of NATO and the U.S. for regime change, exactly what the UN resolution was not designed to do. And what we're hearing now is a sort of playing with words among NATO countries, the UK and France in particular, that have been the most aggressive in wanting to escalate and take an official position in support of regime change in Libya. And instead of saying, well, that's not within the NATO mandate or the UN mandate, because countries like Turkey have, and as well as Germany, have played a very key role in trying to limit the mandate of the international intervention. Instead, they're simply saying we're going to go in unilaterally alongside the NATO contingent, the NATO military strikes, very much what the U.S. has done historically in places like Bosnia, places like Afghanistan, places like Haiti, where it has sent intervention, military intervention forces, airstrikes, etc., alongside international engagement. And it not only confuses the issue of who's in charge, that's not my concern. My concern is that it leads to an inevitable escalation in the interest of those outside powerful Western countries in their effort for regime change and gaining control. In the situation in Libya, this is not like Iraq. This is not a, quote, war for oil. Gaddafi's regime was already in bed with the U.S., with Italy, with the UK, with France, with Western oil companies, Western governments, since his regime's rehabilitation of 2002-2003. So the problem was not we can't get access to Libyan oil. It's far more complex. It's part of a response to the rise of the Arab Spring and the end of the U.S.-backed dictatorships that have controlled the Arab world for the last 50 years. With the demise of that system, because of this extraordinary popular uprising of people throughout the Arab world that are saying no more, that are overthrowing the years of fear in their countries, overthrowing dictatorships, the U.S. is now looking, along with its allies, for new ways of making sure that they will still control how that region as a whole will be governed. Will it be governed by pro-Western, neoliberal, pro-oil company kinds of governments, or will it be governed by something else that represents a very different interpretation of what democracy looks like, of what an economy should look like? These are questions that Libyans should be deciding for themselves. The problem is when you have British ground troops and American jets and NATO forces controlling, NATO forces acting as the airstrike component of the opposition in Libya, then inevitably, when the fighting is over, you will have those forces in control. What looks to happen more likely than anything else right now is the continuation of this kind of military stalemate. The country of Libya largely divided between Gaddafi's regime maintaining control in the West, with the billions of dollars that his regime has garnered over the years, and the East, where most of the oil is, with acting as a kind of Western, U.S., NATO, British, French protectorate under the control of a mixed group of rebels based on and reliant on and dependent on those Western forces to keep them in power.
Phyllis Bennis, I want to thank you very much for being with us, fellow at the Institute for Policy Studies. Among her books, Calling the Shots, How Washington Dominates Today's United Nations.